welcome. It's Copperhead season, number 7, um, with Paula Cisewski and Mike Bagwell. Um, I'm Danica Stegman. My co-host is Jace Britton. That's Jace. It's Copperhead season is an online collaborative reading series where we invite two artists. They've all turned out to be writers, but they don't have to just be writers. If you're a different kind of artist and would like to participate, you're certainly welcome to. Um, to sign up, sometimes they're strangers, sometimes they know one another, and they create some sort of collaboration together, and then we invite them to come in and perform it for you. If you'd like to sign up to participate in a future iteration of its Copperhead season, I'm dropping that link for the sign up in the chat right now. There will be some time near the end to ask questions if you have questions about the collaboration or for either of the poets. We do like to kick things off with a snake story, and both Mike and Paula have snake stories. And so we're going to have 2 snake stories to start us off this evening. And then Mike and Paula will share pieces that they created as a result of their collaboration. And then they're each going to read separately their own work as well after the collaborative portion. Jason, am I missing anything before I hand it off for the snake story?
I think that is everything.
Okay. Who would like to tell their snake story first before we read your bios?
Mine is super simple, so I'll go for it. It's not a big
Paula's
snake story. It's just that when I was in grade school, third or fourth or fifth grade, in the classroom, the teacher brought in. The teacher didn't bring in. The teacher had a guest bring in. Like she didn't just have 2 boa constrictors at her house, but I just remember being this little person who was sitting like on my knees, and just like this much of one of the boa constrictor's tails went like that and just kind of moved me, like totally moved me. And just the force of that, I've never forgot physically in my body. That's my whole snake story.
Thank you, Paula. Mike, go ahead with your snake story.
Yeah, mine is also just simple, but I grew up in California, and we had these little rubber toy snakes that were like little S-shaped kind of things. And we would leave them lying out on the driveway and that kind of thing. If you've lived in California, you can probably tell where this is going, but there's snakes, and they show up on driveways because it's hot. So like I thought it was the toy snake. I went to grab it, and it wasn't the toy snake. I got scared, went and told my mom. She didn't believe me and went and did the same exact thing. And like in my memory, it's like this big like snapping motion, almost getting caught. It's probably just like we saw that there was a snake. We're like, oh, let's just go back inside for now. But I don't think we had any toy snakes after that. I think that was the end of the toy snake era for the family.
Understandably so. Thank you for sharing those stories. I'm going to introduce Mike, and then Mike will read his collaborative pieces that were developed as part of the collaboration, and then Jace will read Paula's bio, and then Paula will read her part of the collaboration. So I'm going to go ahead and read Mike's bio. Oh, this is reminding me, the bio reading is reminding me. I'm going to hold up books for you. This is Mike's chapbook, Collision of Soul and Midair, which is lovely. It has the note that he sent with it when he sent it to me in the mail here. And we'll drop a link to that when I read the bio. And this is Paula's beautiful new book that you can pre-order now that I happen to have a copy of, The Becoming Game from Hanging Loose Press, which is out June 15th. So we'll drop a link to that as well. Please pre-order. Okay, Mike Bagwell. Mike Bagwell's latest thing is exploring gratitude as a poetic form until it's overwhelming, having recently overcome a bout of mutual antagonism towards the sky. He is a writer and software engineer in Philly. His work appears in Action Spectacle, Mercury Firs, ITERANT, Sprung Formal, and others. And then we'll drop links to Mike's websites and book, Instagram, and Bluesky. He's lowghost on both Instagram and Bluesky, which I recently discovered while reading Jack Spicer is a reference to a Jack Spicer poem, which I found entirely delightful. Okay, and Jace just dropped all that info. Thank you, Jace. So without further ado, I'm looking forward to hearing your collaboration. And if you want to talk about, I think you were going to talk about how that process went before you read also.
Yeah, maybe well, if we want to like have a quick conversation about it or something. But yeah, we were both really into doing recent projects with tarot, and I had attended Paula's workshop on using tarot as an editing technique, which was a really amazing workshop, and I hadn't thought about it as an editing process. I've always used it as a means for gathering inspiration, or like using the symbolism, but kind of stopping there. So the editing aspect of that was really neat. And yeah, then we once we started talking about things, I threw out a random idea of a form that I had thought of, which was called a shit shovel. So it's like you take Terrence, oh shit, what's his name? Terrence. Forget it.
Hayes, Terrence Hayes.
Okay, thanks. Where his idea, where you take the words from a poem and make it the last words of your line, and this instead just throws it into a random spot. So it's like, I don't know exactly how, but something like a collaborative idea where it's like you're trying to mess it up, or you're putting it in an intentionally bad location in the line, and just like making it shit, something like that. I didn't write one. I took some inspiration from Paula's words, and I tried a little bit of shit shovel, but didn't quite turn out the way I wanted. But I do have some poems that are after poems that she sent to me, including some digital collage stuff. And then we started going off in that direction of doing some collage work and being inspired by tarot and visual collage and randomness and that kind of thing. Yeah, Paula, did you want to take it from there for a bit?
I did write a shovel. Shit is kind of a shit show. But no, I kind of pleased with how it turned out. So I was so happy to play with that form of yours. And then when you showed me the collages that you put together, I was so inspired that I started working on yeah, and maybe I'll talk about them a little bit more when I read my part. But yeah, I'm just so fascinated by that whole form.
Well, the one I'll read a quick poem that was inspired by your work, and then I'll share my screen, go to some of the digital stuff. But this one is called Murmur. Moon good or sun good? Is the rain a comfort or 10,000 words? I've been okay to myself. I've been calling anywhere home and every solitude rest. Words that arrive before themselves, like landlines to a dog. I've been sustaining the longest note. A little breeze shudders the needles of whatever it is out there that is composed of other lives. Share this. So I recently did a tech talk. I'm a software engineer, recently unemployed, which is part of one of the reasons why my side of this collaboration got a little hectic. But I did have some free time to just mess around and get back to my roots in a way, and did a tech talk at a Comcast Philly Tech Week hosted thing, which like it was me and a friend doing weird digital poems, and then everybody else was incredibly serious. We were followed up by a guy talking about quantum computing and just like going through a lecture and reading poems. But, so the first thing I did here was something that I had done as a typography project. Oh, you can see this, right? Like the, yeah, cool. So I wanted to pull this into a digital medium, see how that looked, and the trees themselves are spread out via an actual algorithm that represents the scientific distribution of trees. So it should feel like actually being in it. And then, so yeah, there's this series had some etymological and IPA kind of influence. But yeah, I'll just jump into it. This is forest. Oh, and as you click, you progress through the poem and pull the trees apart. So as if to say, in the forest and of it, planting the trees of my voice, my fingers duplicating every part of me, finally as beautiful as breath, every intersection of body alive with meaning and significance, lost, running through branches, find me where I look. Got out of sync with myself and my click, but anyway. And then this was the poem that I put together following some of Paula's language and this idea of the tarot. It's, I am closing towards some dim hand that points. Sleeping unstructured in incidents. We owe blood. We corner music. We give pressure. Stars accumulate a new language. That speaks as blue as blue. Here, open the night. Like a field. A wingless place. Of lost fragments. Cycles again. But this was a project where I'm pulling random images from an open source or a public domain location and then drawing weird shapes and throwing some large typography in, and everything is random about it other than the words themselves. The order that they appear on the page is randomized, and yeah, it's fun, just like the random collage that it brings up out of this, which it kind of ties into the tarot sense of randomness. And when I did this talk, I talked a lot about noise in programming and poetry. That there's this process that this library brings in called Perlin noise that you see in CGI actually, because it can like make realistic structures out of something that's non-organic. And so yeah, there's some fun stuff. So then I put these behind a password. All of this is linked if you want to check it out, and the GitHub for the source code. I put these behind a password because these are Paula's poems, so I didn't want to like publish them. So this is a similar idea. I was going for like Russian futurism kind of, but I'm not all that keen on how it turned out. It's kind of fun. I want to mess with it a lot more. Like Russian futurism has these like weird lines that cohere into something, like they become a humanoid shape almost. And so I was struggling with getting a computer to randomly do that. So I'll not read this one, but just show a little bit. And then this was another one that I tried out with Paula's poem, which I will read. It's when a storm comes all at once, the arguers function. Let's refresh that. When a storm comes all at once, the arguers hold their breath, whether or not they understand one another. The edges of a formerly nice day cannot station like a set of sunny parentheses surround any other. So who risk uttering some phrase the other might be sudden human connection? Much like a maze of thunder snows shifted course, where the rush hour traffic report cannot be predicted by experts to everyone's liking. No one's telling the tornado's fortune. No one's advising the lightning where to strike. This is how I understand the argument. To work, two or more people falling, more like off-course parachutists than any weather phenomenon force. To land on the roof of language, drop roll, then wonder what's holding them up top, then wonder why a fractal world, or a fractal would fall and glitter a cold cheek, just when they both were about to say how beautiful. I mean, how stupid. I mean, language has no roof. When a storm comes all at once, their breath, whether or not they understand one another, the edges of a formerly nice day cannot station a set of sunny parentheses around any. So I forget if this randomized and messed with your poem, but I think it did. I think there were a couple lines that like one or two lines per page that get mixed around.
I think I liked it better.
So yeah, that's what I built. The source code is linked here if you want to check out some fun code. And I also have slides on these that I put together. So if you want to look through some of the concepts that I talked about, it's fun stuff.
That was so cool. Thank you for sharing that. I have a million questions and things that I want to talk about now, but let's continue with the reading. Paula's going to read her collaborations inspired by working with Mike now, right? Jace, you're going to introduce Paula? Yes.
Happy to. Paula Cisewski is a poet, artist, educator, writer, editor, publisher, and curator. Her hybrid book, Ceremonies for No Repair, is newly released from Beauty School Editions LLC, and her poetry collection, The Becoming Game, is forthcoming from Hanging Loose Press in spring of 2025. She is also the author of Quitter from Diode Editions, the book prize winner. The Threatened Everything, Ghost Fargo, a Nightboat Poetry Prize winner, selected by Franz Wright. Upon Arrival, and several chapbooks, including the lyric prose Misplaced Sinister. While raising her son, Cisewski earned her BA from St. Catherine's University and her MFA from Vermont College of Fine Arts. During those years, she worked in warehouses, was a mosaic artist mentor, owned a coffee shop, and waited 1 million tables. She lives in Minneapolis, where she has for 2 decades taught writing privately and academically. She makes things at Yoo-Hoo Studio, which you can find this and more perhaps at paulacisewski.com. Links in the bio, including a pre-order link for the Becoming game. Excited to see what we have. Paula, take it away.
Thanks, Jace. Thank you. That was a long bio. Well, sorry. I want to say I'm at a writers conference at my hotel room in Virginia right now. And during like the luncheon, one of the servers said, like, I think, just looked at me and went, have you waited tables? And I was like, how can you tell? And I just like hold everything like this still. I haven't for 20 years, but just everything. I just walk around. So yeah. So hi, thanks for being here. I am so fascinated by this time that Mike and I collaborated or were thwarted from collaborating or whatever happened. I just really appreciated the way we kind of exchanged like energy and ideas. The first thing that I'm going to read is, I think, Mike, I'll just read your original poem, All Good Things, and then read the way that I turned it into what I think might be a shit shovel. I mean, I don't know if I followed the form correctly. And I would also say that because we both talked about using tarot, that I pulled a card for each line, and that's how I changed each line. Even though there's a little Wizard of Oz association in here. So Mike's original poem is All Good Things, because they shared the likeness of the swan rolling over an image into a coffee pot. I think you get the idea between subject, object, and poppies, field. Talk about the poppies more, or the brightness, or how far away we are from the above. If I were to make a square, I'd have a joke, tend to your ands in the palm forest. I was the TV, ate fortunately, and hummed in my sleep. All good things ask bad questions, because they shared 8 legs and the moon, the likeness of a sea creature reaching for the stars, the swan rolling over in its grave of night, crossing an image into a holy asterism, into a coffee pot. I think you get the idea between subject, querent, object, query, and poppies, field, set. It was not seafoam, not snow. Talk about the asbestos blanketing the poppies. Talk about asbestos as film prop more, or the brightness, or how far away Dorothy, I mean Judy, and we are from the above, conked out in a gorgeous field of poppies and toxins. If I were to make a square of our dream scene, I'd have an ocean-sized joke, tend to your ands waving nostalgia. In the palm forest, I was, yet more appendages reached up the TV from every channel, ate fortunately, and hummed like a very kind cloud in the rerun of my sleep. And so I part of the being kind of thwarted was I am going through just sort of fallow, maybe is the nicest way to say, period in my writing, which I think we all do sometimes. And it has definitely happened to me before, when, a book comes out and I don't know what the next thing is, and politically, personally, everything. I don't know how to write right now. So Mike and I made this Zoom meeting. So in the Becoming game, I sound like I'm all over the place, but in the Becoming game, the way that I wrote those poems was in 2000, after the 2016 election, when I was going through a political panic, languageless period. I just had a friend over and I poured us tea and I did a tarot reading for them. And then I spent the week letting like the world seep in and studying the cards. And then I would give them a draft of a poem. Okay, so then Mike and I had this, I was going to give him a tarot reading and try to do the same thing. And sometime between when we scheduled the meeting and when we met, I was like, am I just like, is it a one-trick pony now? Is that what I do? Is I just do the same thing? And so we met and I was like, I don't want to do it. I'm not gonna do it. And then we talked about collage. And I was so thrilled that Mike also collages, and images often get me back to language. So I was like, I'll start doing some collages. And then a couple days later, I was like, oh, but I really want to do a reading for Mike. And so then I just did one based on like kind of energy I got from our conversation. And I was like, I don't know how to write the poem. So I started my collages, and then I started doing these like kind of an oracle deck. And what's happening is each card has a collage, and then it also has there's like a master list with a line for each one. And so instead of, and oh, that's me in my 10th grade musical, or yep, 11th grade musical. That just, oh, that's me. That's 17. Okay. Kind of really just working with what I had. And I'm not done. I didn't have time to make 78 of them, but I did have time to make a lot of lines, and I did have time to do the cards that were in Mike's original tarot reading. So what I'm going to do is share my screen and share a video, because I have low to no tech skills. Like everything you just did, you're like a wizard magician. That's amazing to me. I made these with glue, and now I took a video of them, and that's how I'm sharing them. So, and I'm just gonna read a poem over the brief video that I copied out into my notebook, longhand. So, I feel like curiosity is more than a ticket to the college town parade. You can't teach pennies to remain pennies, not memories. You can't hide the chrysalis from the caterpillar. The quality of emotional maturity in a partner shouldn't come as such a surprise. Seeding and weeding, the emotional ground cover, stone crop, the low grasses. Why wasn't I hungry until after the table was cleared? How could I have caught every small grain of the age up in my apron? Why not be proud of that thing you've got going on? That thing no one cares about as much as you. That's my awkward 12 seconds off, sorry. That's my, okay. Thanks.
Oh, that was incredible. I really like that you both ended up with visual visual elements that were so different, but like with obviously connections to talk about, right? So Danica, you said you had a high number of questions. I forget if you said 1,000,000 or 1,000 or something along those lines. But do you want to
I
start
do
with
have
one?
questions, but I think Mike and Paula are still going to read more poems, if
Oh,
I'm
oh my gosh.
understanding
No,
correctly.
no.
They're going to read like
Yeah,
their
yeah, you're
separate,
right,
not
you're right.
collab poems.
Yes.
And also, I love that because we paired Paula and Mike because they had a lot of things in common. But I love the fact that you discovered on your own that you all like both work with visual elements, and that was a commonality, but also you work with them in completely like in different mediums and ways, and like
Mhm.
that's coming out in the club. Like that's so magical. But let's I should write my questions down so I don't forget them. But I believe Mike's going to read his own work, like not from the collaboration, and then Paula's going to read her work. So, Mike, why don't you go ahead and start when you're ready?
So the project that I was working on just prior to, well, yeah, in like a year or so leading up to collaborating with Paula on the tarot is a book-length poem called Poem of Thanks. And each section is based off of the tarot card. So there's like the whole suite of wands and the sun and the star and some reverse cards, things like that. This is, and as I've been publishing them digitally, I've been putting together hand-bound versions to like give out at readings, so very small runs. But this is a version of the second section of the book called The Sun. And it's my daughter did the artwork on it. She's was 3 at the time, so she painted this like really amazing little finger painting. She called it an apple. So I built out this long accordion book for it because the poem itself is just one long continuous thing, but like in small segments. So it's fun to read this. Like you're not going to get the full effect, but I've read it live, and it's fun that you can like tell how much longer the poem's going to be because you can see it going to an end. You don't have to do that annoying thing of like, oh, 1 more left. But I think it's like a 5-minute poem. But, so this is it has like little, yeah, I can show you. It has little titles off to the side of things. So I'll do a little stuttering pause for each segment. No fly this time. I'm lacquered up and green, like a frozen pond with so much life, drinking all day IPAs at night, children crying through the walls as they lay down their hexes for invisibility. We have carnivorous plants in the house now. They are little poems where they wait for their fly to close over. I wish there was advice in general, that advice was possible, or at least likely. In my dream, I met poets I hadn't seen in most of a decade, and then there was a fire, but all I saw of it was smoke, until I was walking alone up a steep hill with a growing view of the city, awash in red light. Most of my exits from poems lately have been into parenthood, like that long cough from sleep. Better go see how she's doing. Tree pose. I have a digital reminder to do sun salutations every morning, but I never do. I do this move far too often in poetry, this move being downward dog. I write poems in all technologies at once is maybe the problem. Or maybe that there are no novel opinions on parenthood, especially at this age of environmental destruction. I'd like to take this moment to once again warn the residents that these words, there's no escape, not if you've made it this far down. Oh wait, here. Cheetah cat. Face paint is not worth it. It's too sad when the time comes and they can't be what they are. The opposite of breathing is breathing. When will I think myself a good enough artist to say what I mean? Which is how fucked we all are. Remember the joke about how forests stop being carbon positive? Their fire is doing more harm than the breathing. That's not fucked. Man, my toddler's in a whining mood this morning, and the dog barking at every other dog's shadow as it floats by. I get it. We all hear just yelling for beauty and how slow it disappears. Thank you, Henson. Planes pass in and out of the afternoon. Do nothing to remind me there are twice as many people living in my neighborhood. as there are cheetahs living in the wild. Citizens of Earth, I vow to recognize my inner Muppet, montage my wants of becoming Muppet. I vow always to bang a pot when my fist makes contact. People shouting in French, subtitles say, as the car emerges from the ancient room of the ocean. My poems are really many small poems in a trench coat, wreaking havoc and struggling for balance. Control tower. I'm calling for a no-fly zone over my vows. May they entice any that dare with their silent song, sweet nectar, steady green signal lights, draw down winged souls into their vibrant bell forever. I'd like to be stupid happy, like those ancient clay figures with flat faces to catch the sun. Under the sea. Fucking wild, that myth of the high five originating from American sports in the 70s or whatever. As if we haven't been touching each other since the beginning of time. As if making sound from the body was a new idea. We hunt flies together, clap together if we can clap apart, dive into a history of touch. In an octopus's garden. Ah shit, now that the titles carry me out here. Kermit the Frog is singing the Ringo cover this time, and the reverb grows and grows. Even the gods playing hide and seek stumble out of the ocean, in awe, terrible, blotting out the sun. Say, okay, your turn, die. Thank you, it is. There's a text this time when I say looks gorgeous to my cousin who's in 8-bar-1. And the picture is of a temple at sunset, trees growing through it. Ayla named her bears Daycare and Rum. She's not in daycare. She doesn't even like Rum. Don't think I forgot about the tarot star. It's just the sun now, burning a hole through the back of this poem. Over us the plains, humming the temples of the clouds. Great spiritual jazz. The sun says, by consuming myself, I give my warmth to every blade of grass, every poet, every city, every touch. You can come out now, it says. I found you. Thanks.
That was so amazing. I love this idea of the sun being like giving. Um, that was incredible. And thank you for sharing it. Paula is now going to read some poems. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I just want, can you hear this air conditioner? Like, is it drowning out my, okay. It's an irritant suddenly. It wasn't doing it before. Okay. I'm going to read one poem from the Ceremonies for No Repair, which came out last year. And it's the first time I actually incorporated like prints and collage, and there's like poetry comics and footnotes and prose and poetry, like a whole crown of sonnets throughout. But this one is an ekphrastic poem that I would have written if I hadn't taken a class. When we were in our collaborative like co-op workshop, Danica, you gave the prompt to write to this Agnes Martin painting. So Unbeckoning Glass, a memory. This color is exhaled smoke from a bummed cigarette, a stray cloud for the sky. The color of adjoining rooms, and is the door chained on the other side. Outside, the two soaked bars of this color. A lighter gray lives, like the invisible sun wants to peek through all the marginalia of love. Two people are having a talk they already had in this color. A lot of pauses around the rain, which erupts in this color. And time builds its promise towers in the fog of this color. Revoked words live inside the eraser smudge of this color. This color is dusk. Many people feel unsettled by dusk. Give us day or night, I can't be inside my own skin in the gloaming when our shadow selves get all their big ideas. The gaze of this color is a soft equal sign. Two twin beds, childish or sexless as graves. The conversation performed in this color harkens back to what's unlovable, the performance of the original wound as general malaise. This color wants to touch itself, or is that the other? Either way, there's no touching in this color, except by this color. Two people are still having a talk they already had in this color. What kind of color protects possibilities from coming into focus by bending light into mirages? Mirages are the thirst and TV snow of this color, and the apartment walls you lose your security deposit if you paint. This color has the acoustics of packing paper, a ghost's idea of home. This color is the god of double negatives, the god of stiff equivalence, god of blowing dust bunnies out from under our beds. And then I'll read just maybe a few. It looks like a lot of little post-its, but I promise it's not. I'm not reading all of them. But I'll read a few from The Becoming game. So, Ace of Summer. The whole world must be some forgiveness disco. I'm done warming up, being subjected to anybody's gaze, disorganizes my feature, my wander, my wounds. When anybody stops looking at me, I will put my face back, wander around, knowing how it feels to be like a glamorous splat, plus a little bit the sweetest crossing guard, just wanting to feel trusted with her orange flag. Oh, strip my safety vest. I am one flaring yes in this overmuch world. Ace of Fall. Season in which Mary says my new haircut is witchy, and fuck yeah. It's darker earlier every day. Good morning. Glitter, ice cream, horror movie, marathon, conjuring inner space. The men in power holler and cry, he's the nicest person / rapist. In my annual review, the big boss wrote many corrective notes, not about like a real job, just general how I do on the planet, where he signed his name, the letters, little animals scurrying off. I always knew I would never last in this position. Good morning. Ready for another means of travel, a truth conjured, carry on. What am I? You think you have a plan? I have a plan. Okay. Do I have two more that are about that link? Oh, I'm doing the thing, Mike. Oh, I have just two left. Which age of anxiety? Ring, ring, all the phone bank volunteers on anti-anxiety meds. No one answers. Our efforts go to voicemail. Who leaves voicemails? Ring, ring. Sky haze reds out. The sun fires wilding 1,000 Canadas away. Isn't a trip to therapy selfish? California's burning too. Don't lecture me about discipline when we don't misbehave enough. Think of Persephone and her brave tamed hunger, save for 3 damn seeds. People need help, and so few have the luxury of receiving help. My own special needs, my God, get underground and murk things the hell up. What about the past turns its back stubbornly, weapon drawn, be careful. What about a dream hung by the ankles, still isn't doing nothing? Can't get lost enough, but we pay our admission through the corn maze roots. Mother Demeter would be so proud, but pride is not enough. Ring, ring. Ring, ring, our Xanax, our Klonopin, pomegranates, we're not leaving. We do our quests, we fail, all our naked shadows wear us curious suits. At the, like, kind of between this being finished and this poem coming out, it was like the end of the pandemic, and I was trying to remember how people talk to each other and like what the things people ask each other when they're having small talk, you know? So this, what was your first concert? My first concert was a Red Leaf. My first concert was Waiting for a Ghost in the Woods, or The Tiny Motor That Runs Your Love. Once I was addicted to absence, thief of everything green. batting at nothing that's visible to me. My first concert was a cricket in a matchbox, a chorus of masking and unmasking so loud you didn't have to think. A horn section swaying in sharkskin. My first concert was the tree-lined sunset impression smeared on the mirror of the river and the current a goodbye underneath. A song from memory comes on the radio and Time's accordion squeezes in or the door slams shut on the moment and everything goes white. I was singing along to stay alive. My first concert was a hammock swaying greenless leaves. How is it you make me want to repeat everything? Everything. My first concert was seeking a second heartbeat, unapologetic, undaunted by a missed leap. Thanks. Thanks a whole bunch for having me, by the way. Really, this is really fun.
Thank you, Paula, and thank you, Mike. Thank you both for participating and reading your amazing work for us. Jace, now you can do the thing that you were
I can begin
very
to
well doing. Yes. Before
begin to
it
wind
started.
down rather than halfway through. You were talking, Paul, about your air conditioner and its direction. I can't even tell which direction it's coming from, but there's someone who's really excited in our neighborhood, I guess. Like there's a lot of like wooing, but it seems to be coming from all around. Like I'm surrounded by people just having so much fun on a weekday early evening. So I blame them for my little bit of spaciness in the middle there. Danica, you've been brewing now on these questions for all this time. Why don't you go ahead?
Wish I could hear this cheering. Um, Zoom is failing us a little bit, maybe by not sharing that. Um, okay, so first up, um, Paula said something incredible that I should have written down about like when unable to write, like the image is sort of like a place to lean into, but it was like a way better way of saying it than that. But I didn't write it down, and so now I can't remember what it was. But I would love if each of you would talk about like the relationship with image, like the work that you create with images or collage, and how that relates to the writing, like both like maybe how they can sort of feed one another, but also like how you pair them together sometimes. Like if whichever you don't have to answer both of those things, but like um if you want to, you can, or like respond to one of them. Sort of like how the image and the word go together, and then also like when you actually end up laying them out together, or Mike like putting them together in like a moving space, like with code, like how that works for you, like how you put them together, more like logistically. And either of you can answer, you can decide who wants to answer first, but I'd love to hear from both of you about that.
Yeah, I can go ahead. I think that I was really intimidated by the combination of art and poetry for a long time. I've been writing poems since I was a kid, but I've been drawing and painting as a kid, but that part of it dropped off, and I only picked it back up again a couple of years ago. And it was kind of this moment of like, it is stupid that I'm not doing this. Like no one's gonna stop me from painting. Why haven't I been doing it? Or just like, yeah, like it felt like I had to like it had to be good, so I had to get permission to do it or something weird like that. Or in particular, the like big typography things just felt like really out of my comfort zone and out of my capability for whatever reason. Um, and yeah, it was like really liberating to get back into just like throwing words at a page at not the same size, and to like mess with them and throw them at weird angles. And then the painting naturally came into that collage, and then that finally came back around to poetry or to code. And that was a couple months ago that I started making these digital poems. And yeah, that felt like something that should have happened 10 years ago. It was why I started programming in the first place. Because it's like programming is kind of like a dark art. You're writing poetry that then goes and does something. It has actual effect on the world. And that's pretty cool. And so like you can build these interfaces or do these things. And yeah, it was something that I've been wanting to do for a long time, but for some reason just felt like those two worlds couldn't collide without it being cheesy or something. Uh, yeah, I'm really glad to have found art again in my adulthood, I guess.
There's another kind of amazing parallel in my mind because I always have drawn and collaged and done some kind of art, but have often was like, but I'm not a real artist. So like I felt like a real real yeah, a kinship with you and when you were describing that feeling. And during the like early parts of the pandemic, there's just not one of us who wasn't dealing with personal like trauma and grief on top of the shared trauma and grief. And my portion made language really difficult for me. So there was I just started taking book arts classes because the Minnesota Center for Book Arts is awesome. Um, and I was like, who can, like, definitely play is what I need at like at best. I'm not doing anything serious. Like I need to just keep my hands moving at that time. And I ended up writing like more zines, like comics that were not poetic at all. And I started to love the images, and I started doing printing and like sewing, everything, um, felt really good. And some of it led me back to language and led me back to like even making poems that turned into poetry comics. Um, and some images just felt like obsessive the way some of my poems can sometimes be obsessive. Like there are just, I had way too many prints of dandelions, like things that are in my whatever yard and then in my poems and just, but it did remind me that even when I didn't think of myself as a real artist, I would make jewelry sometimes on my desk or like I made chainmail at one point in my life, like you do. And there's some like I could never knit or crochet. And so, but there was something about that too, the repetitiveness of it that brought me back to language. Um, and so, yeah, the last few years of playing with images, yeah, maybe it's a little bit like the way I love to, I do tend to write about other people's art, like ekphrastic art. I'm often inspired by visual art. So maybe it's just a different way to be in conversation with myself, in a way.
Yeah, it was
Awesome.
pretty.
Oh, go ahead, Jace.
So no, it's just I was speaking of expressive. I was just thinking about kind of that as a mode of collaboration, thinking about other people we brought up as we were talking, including, we talked about the Wizard of Oz, or you mentioned Wizard of Oz, Agnes Martin, Kermit the Frog came up once. But even just maybe to practice incorporating something like tarot, or practice incorporating chance, and even some maybe more or less tangible way, is kind of connected to what I wanted to ask. You both mentioned at the start, or as you were introducing your own work, reasons that you felt like personal misfortune or political things going on had sort of entered into this process. And in all those cases, I will point out, you mentioned that right before you read like a couple absolute bangers of poems. So I was wondering, you not to say like, oh, will you talk about your misfortune, but as like a brand of chance that we don't think of necessarily as being like, oh, as generative as like, I'm feeling good, I'm gonna go write some poetry maybe. I'd be curious to hear you talk about like how you feel like chance and maybe specifically misfortune kind of shape poems in maybe surprising ways or ways that feel, I'm trying not to like set up a binary of like, oh, good inspiration, bad inspiration, or something like that. But things that feel maybe more negative, and how those enter into the work or inhibit the work, and then how that inhibition changes. So all of that I will condense into a question, which is like, can you talk a little bit about misfortune and its shape on this work or your work in general?
Crap, it's my turn to go first, isn't it? I will try a little bit, yeah. I know that misfortune has a constraint. um some of the things, are personal and are probably just interesting to me. One of the things that happened to me recently was I'm just looking for like purpose, having a little existential crisis about if I ever want to publish another book, what my voice means. And so this isn't about like some personal things that are also happening. Um, but that is like weighing on me a little bit. And so um I don't think there's anything I can do but play in that time unless I don't want to like be a maker at all, and that feels like such a empty, like I don't feel like myself at all. I'm cranky and clumsy and forgetful when I'm not making something, and I bet all of you here can identify with that. Maybe I don't know, don't want to project. um a long time ago I used to have I was at a job that was just sucking the soul out of me. This was 11 years ago or so, and I just had Dostoevsky as my screensaver on my computer. And I just think about, like I'm not in exile with a dead child, and uh, chronic disease, and like I think I could write a few lines, like if he can write those novels, And so I try to also remember that whatever my misfortune is, it's not, and it's nothing. Like I feel really awkward right now. Whatever was going on with me this spring is not major in any way, but there's some grieving, and that's real for everybody all the time. um I think I said all the things, and I'd really like to get back out of this sentence. I'm done. Thank you.
I don't think that we have to get like do like misfortune competitions with Dostoevsky at all. And I didn't mean to like put you on the spot to say like, tell me what's wrong with you.
No, I didn't take it that way. No, I just started answering it that way for no reason is what I was doing.
That's fine. Yeah, Dostoevsky will always win. Mike, misfortune.
Yeah, I might shift pretty quickly to the chance element of that. But yeah, I mean, losing my job recently was a big like I had been there for 6 years, and so and this was like a startup that felt like a community that I had built, and so it was a pretty like jarring event, and it was like feeling a little lost in terms of like what I would do next, and what I would do in the interim. Like I always imagined like I would take some time off and relax, but like it's not relaxing. This is the first time I've ever had like a big gap, and I'm just interviewing all the time, studying, trying to jam information in my brain. But I did take that. It did mean that I had that time to revisit the combination of poetry and code, and build some of that out. So, and that just wouldn't have happened otherwise. Like I've always felt like I'm doing this for a living. I'm not going to go home and do it. Like, especially it like if you type too much, it causes RSI. I had bouts with carpal tunnel and kind of thing. So I was getting into a healthy habit of just being okay. I'm done with screens now. I've been here for a while, going somewhere else, and so there's no possibility of doing this kind of work. So yeah, it was like a nice little silver lining, I suppose, finding that connection. And then like you touched on some chance elements, or like I think you were also talking with distraction and openness. Maybe I'm just imagining it, but this poem of thanks started up right after my second kid was born, which was like really I kind of like dropped out of the poetry scene. I had been writing, but not trying to publish or sending anything for a long time. And for for whatever reason, it was like my second kid was born. So it's like, this has to be the moment where I get back into it. It really, it's literally the hardest time in anybody's life, is like having two young kids and it's like a newborn. It's like, nope, I'm going to take my parental leave and I'm going to write some poems and submit some stuff and get moving on and like go to readings. And yeah, it was like the reinvigoration of a lot of things there. But because it was so distracting, your time is so fragmented, your sleep is fragmented. These poems just came out a couple of lines at a time, or I'd be like watching a kid's movie and writing the poem, and then the subtitles would come into the poem. My daughter started, my older daughter was like coming into language in a really cool, amazing way. And so like she wrote maybe a quarter of the poems that are in here, just like literally I was transcribing them. Now we have a practice of writing poems together. And she comes home, she came home the other day saying, I really want to write poems today. Like she drew a little picture and we wrote a poem together. Yeah, so all of that comes into this long poem, the distraction as a grounds for art kind of idea. But it's been really fun.
Yeah, thank you so much, both of you, especially for answering that question, which is like was like borderline rude to ask. But I was, thinking about the word fortune and that prefix, and I just wanted to ask it. I think that will be the end of this iteration. I'm so grateful to both of you for bringing the collaboration to this performance as fruition, especially given that the timing maybe in some sense could have been better, but I'm so amazed and impressed by what y'all were working on that maybe perhaps cosmically everything is as it was meant to be, perhaps. Danica, any closing words?
I totally agree with that. I think the timing was perfect. Thank you both so much for sharing your work and your time. I really am sort of like energized and warmed by it. And I think that it's like once we post this up online too, this is something like a kind of art making and conversation that people need right now. So I really appreciate that. And thank you both for yeah, just like sharing that with us. I think, Jason, I think that's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.